Now more than ever, innovative technologies are fueling change and sparking new ways of thinking. Collaboration between corporations and startups is key to staying at the forefront of these trends. However, finding the right startups can be expensive, time-consuming, and ineffective. But Plug and Play is here to help. As a corporate partner, you will gain access to a whole ecosystem of innovation. Discover startups that meet your tech interests. Stay updated on the latest trends and network with industry peers. We will help you during every stage of your innovation journey, no matter where you are and where you want to go. Get in touch today.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I hope you're having a wonderful start to the year. My name is Hisham Akhtar, and I'm the Program Manager for Industry 4.0 at Plug and Play Abu Dhabi. I'm really excited to welcome you to the first community event of the program with insightful discussions lined up for today. Industry 4.0 is the first of its kind open innovation platform in the MENA region, bringing together key stakeholders to drive collaboration as we enter the next industrial revolution. Last mile logistics, warehouse automation, predictive analytics, vehicle electrification, industrial IoT. We've heard all of these terms, floating around the ecosystem, but what do they all mean? And what crucial role will they play in the future of the industrial revolution? Of course, none of this would have been possible without our partners that have supported us from day one. Abu Dhabi Investment Office has been supportive of us from day one and helped us launch this open innovation platform. We would be nowhere without them, so we thank them so much for their support. All of our other founding partners, Abu Dhabi Ports Group, Al Dhahra, Emirates Global Aluminium, Gazprom, Jiffin Al Jazeera, Eaton, Red Bull Advanced Technologies, BRF, and Strata are all pioneers in their respective verticals and have a keen eye on not just talking about innovation, but also implementing it within their respective business units. The purpose of today is to understand, like I mentioned, all of these buzzwords that float around in the ecosystem. What do they all mean? What are some of the trends in Industry 4.0? But not just talking about it. We also want to learn more about the insights and learnings from different industry tech innovators. And the ultimate goal is to try and drive innovation. We believe that by combining industry stakeholders, tech startups, through knowledge sharing, collaboration, co-creation, and deployment, that we will certainly be able to influence the next industrial revolution. A bit about the agenda for today. We have the welcome remarks, and then we have opening remarks from the Department of Economic Development. Then we will have the future of logistics and supply chain panel discussion, followed by a quick Q&A from the audience. And then we'll have some closing remarks. I'm really excited about the event today. I hope you are as well. So let's kick it off with welcoming Jean-Paul Simpson from the Logistics and Trade Facilitation sector from the Department of Economic Development, who will be talking to us about some of the interesting new platforms that have been launched in Abu Dhabi and how they're impacting the trade and logistics space in the UAE.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me? I've been having some technical difficulties, but hopefully they're solved now.
Yep, sounds all good.
Well, firstly, hello and welcome, and thank you to Plug and Play for organising this event on what I believe to be a very, very important topic, the future of logistics and the supply chain. Arguably, this topic is more important now than ever before, and we see companies who are actively changing the future of logistics and the supply chain becoming some of the biggest companies in the world. We only need to look at the likes of Amazon to see that happen, where effectively they've become a logistics company. I mean, in essence, supply chains and logistics are fundamental pillars of global trade. And when we face challenges in these areas, the whole global economy feels the pain. Right now, we are in a pandemic that has caused huge disruption to global supply chains, resulting in several challenges, including the shortage of containers, leading to increased logistics costs and accessibility to raw materials as demand outstrips supply. That's just to name a few. Though it is also worth noting that such challenges also bring about substantial opportunities and huge potential for new technologies. Indeed, it could be argued COVID has actually acted as a catalyst in promoting the fourth industrial revolution. From a government's perspective, and Abu Dhabi's perspective in the DED, ensuring that one's country has a world-class logistics ecosystem and infrastructure is also essential to attracting FDI and diversifying and developing the economy. Furthermore, the society we live in today demands goods immediately with a world-class service for a competitive price. People want to order today and get it tomorrow. This trend is something that is particularly accelerated in the region, and again, though challenging, has created huge potential for the sector, investors, and SMEs alike. Meeting the demands of the fourth industrial revolution, we require an automated, intelligent, and increasingly autonomous flow of assets, goods, materials, and information between the point of origin and the point of consumption, and the various points in between. And in my opinion, the ability of countries to foster new technologies and act as incubators to their adoption will be a defining factor of the future success of those economies. I'm happy to say that Abu Dhabi understands this and provides the perfect ecosystem to develop and implement cutting-edge new technology and ideas in the logistics sector as we strive to be global leaders in this area. Before we hear from the expert panel, I just wanted to briefly introduce you to two important initiatives that the Abu Dhabi government has launched in the past year: the new Logistics and Trade Facilitation sector and the Abu Dhabi Advanced Trade and Logistics Platform. Last year, the Department of Economic Development launched a new unique function within government to deliver the Abu Dhabi Trade Facilitation Roadmap and the following objectives with its strategic partners. We aim to digitise trade facilitation through the establishment of a multimodal single platform, improve Abu Dhabi's logistics and trade facilitation competitiveness, both time and costs, improve our global logistics and trade facilitation rankings and create transparency in logistics and trade facilitation policy and procedures, and improve our local export capability and international outreach. Ultimately, the LTFS has enabled Abu Dhabi to align with all relevant stakeholders, bring them all together, and focus on meaningful action that improves the logistics ecosystem and increases our global competitiveness. The function also provides the ability to form a strong partnership between the public and private sector. In 2020, we have many examples of where the LTFS listened to the private sector and with its stakeholders acted. A prime example of this was the pivotal role the LTFS played in attracting Amazon to invest in a regional first, state-of-the-art robotic fulfillment centre. To meet the first objective of developing a single trade platform, Abu Dhabi has already recently developed the Advanced Trade and Logistics Platform, the ATLP, to create a true trade single window that will digitise the whole logistics ecosystem and provide the perfect environment to foster and adopt new technologies and practices such as AI, IoT, big data, etc. The ATLP is one of the most ambitious and comprehensive scopes of any global single window and onboards all stakeholder processes in the ecosystem, from asset owners and operators like the seaports, airports, rail operators and industrial zones, to public sector approvers such as customs and other OGAs, and private sector players such as shipping lines, freight forwarders and agents. Already, even though we are still in the development stage, we have onboarded over 120 services and realised considerable time and cost savings for the private sector, with over 1 million man-hours saved to date. It is also important to mention that the ATLP will enable us to monitor performance across the whole ecosystem and identify areas that require further improvements. Undoubtedly, many of these improvements will be delivered through the technologies identified in the fourth industrial revolution. And as stakeholders adopt new technologies to improve their processes and services, these will ultimately be integrated into the ATLP. And we will hear from some of our colleagues in the expert panel today, especially Abu Dhabi Ports and Graham, on how they're adopting new technologies which will fundamentally become part of this ecosystem. So to conclude, I believe the future of logistics and supply chain is an exciting one. and the role is more important than ever. Abu Dhabi is extremely proactive in this area and committed to providing the right environment for the logistics sector to thrive. And we also are committed to creating the right ecosystem to foster, adopt, and new technologies. Thank you.
Thank you, John, for that insightful presentation on what's happening at the government level. And this is exactly, what is going to drive the innovation ecosystem, is when key government stakeholders, try to integrate and support the needs of the customers. But now that we have a high level view of, what's happening, it's time to jump into a little bit more, minute details on the implementation side, the learnings, the insights from the everyday corporates that are integrating these technologies and these solutions into their business units. And with that, I hand it over to our expert moderator, Livia, who will do a brief introduction about herself, the topic of the panel discussion. We'll introduce the panelists as well. Before I hand it over to Livia, if you have any questions that you'd like to ask the panel, please put them in the chat box. And then after the panel discussion, we have about 5 to 10 minutes for the Q&A. And yeah, with that, Livia, I hand it over to you.
Thank you, Hisham, and also welcome to everyone from my side. Today's topic is very exciting. We will be talking about the future of supply chain and logistics, and why is it so exciting and crucial to talk about this. So in 2021, there has been a historic founding boom in the supply chain venture capital ecosystem. And one of the main reasons being that the pandemic directed investors' attention to supply chains after massive disruptions. And therefore, it has become even more crucial to implement digital tools for collaboration and tracking, automate processes, monitor international logistics events to detect threats early enough, as well as put emphasis on sustainable sourcing. Today's areas of discussion with our extremely relevant experts of the panel will be, for example, role of the artificial intelligence and big data in logistics and supply chain optimization, as well as the role of robotics and automation in streamlining operations. And also we will touch on how traditional corporations can adapt their existing setups to integrate new technologies. We will also hear some exciting use cases showcasing innovation and technology adoption in the field. Also, we will be discussing some of the challenges that corporations face when adapting new technologies. And we'll also talk about some of collaborations with tech companies and startups. So without further ado, I would like to welcome our expert panelists today. So Graham Byrne is the logistics manager of Abu Dhabi Ports Logistics, the Abu Dhabi Ports Group. Then we have David Esses, who is the head of Market Center of Intelligence and Excellence at BRF. And then we have Adli Dehelia, who is the VP and MD for Middle East, Turkey, and Africa region at Rombi. Before we dive into the panel discussion, I would like to ask our panelists to really briefly introduce themselves and tell us a bit about their connection to supply chain and logistics. Graham, why don't you start?
Thank you very much indeed, Livia. Thank you. Yeah, great to be participating in this event. As Jean-Paul kind of teed it up, this is incredibly important for the industry. And when we talk about Industry 4.0, I like to talk about supply chain 4.0. I think it's far more relevant that the connectivity that we all aspire to and the ambition of our seamless supply chain. So it's important that we focus on that part. But no, great. So as you say, Graham Byrne, I work with Abu Dhabi Port Logistics Group here in Kazad, where I'm stationed at the moment in our facility here. I spent the last 21 years in the region in various leadership supply chain roles and mainly focused on FMCG, but a real advocate for this part of the world and doing the right thing for supply chain. So and obviously what's going to be crucial as we move forward is the adoption of technology in that. So that's why I'm really happy to participate here. Thank you.
Thanks, David.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Really excited to be here, and thanks Plug and Play for organizing the event and inviting us for the discussion. So my name is David. I'm the head of the CX department, the Center of Intelligence and Excellence for BRF in our halal markets region here. So I don't have a lot of experience here in the region, so I've been here for only 4 years, but working 10 years in supply chain in other continents as well. So I started with BRF in Brazil, had assignments in Argentina, then an experience in Malaysia and Southeast Asia, and now for the past 4 years in the region. Last 3 of those managing the operations for BRF in Oman, and now this last year managing the CX department here in the region. So really excited to see the different tones of, you know, how technology permeates our businesses in all different regions, right? So I have a lot of experience in other areas as well. So excited to bring this this here for the discussion.
Very exciting. Thanks, David. Adli?
Yeah, thanks, Olivia. And it's really a pleasure being part of this event today and talking to all industry leaders here on the supply chain automation. My name is Adli Dhaliya. I'm part of this region for the last 25 plus years. Have played different leadership roles in the, telecom technology, simply working with telecom operators, and all this development about IoT business being part of the technology and business to business offering that operators are doing in the region. For the last 3.5 years, I'm part of the Silicon Valley startup Rombi, where we really focus on supply chain technologies and how to basically automate the process, how to give real-time actionable data to our customers to make and understand their data and make sure they make the right decision when it comes to their supply chain. Very excited to be here and part of this panel, and hopefully we'll have a good discussion today.
Thank you, Adli. Yeah, it was indeed very exciting to see the growth and progress of Rombi over the last couple of years. Perfect. So with that, I'd like to kick off our panel discussion and address my first question to Graham. So Graham, you mentioned that you have more than 20 years of experience in the supply chain industry, also covering several other fields like the beauty sector, FMCG sector. We know that around 1.5 years ago there has been an exciting point that created a disruption in the industry. So I would like to hear more, like, what is your opinion? What were the most significant changes and milestones that happened in the sector as a consequence of the pandemic? Graham, we can't hear you. You are on mute.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for teeing that up. Yes, I think it's been unprecedented, isn't it, in terms of the disruption that we've seen. What started out to be a significant supply disruption with sort of national lockdowns and closures of manufacturing, not least, let's say, China, where the world has seen its over-reliance and dependency here. But also, logistic services and lanes and routes that simply dried up overnight. And then coupled with this, if you like, the impact is on the unavailability of people to run critical operations. We saw this quickly change from a supply issue, didn't we, into a demand issue. And where, we saw a rapid change in consumer needs and behaviors, whether that's to administer healthcare requirements and services and products, or to access goods and services which traditionally weren't available anymore, malls closing and restricted movement of people, etc. And that just forced the unprecedented online behavior in which some cases, and I'm very close to a couple of these experiences over the last 2 years, it's accelerated companies' e-com plans by up to 5 years. So we've seen this massive, massive change due to COVID and the disruption. And organizations, to be honest, have been backed into corners that they never knew existed. And also it's accelerated in my eyes and magnified the problems that already existed in supply chains, right? But never been properly addressed. So, but what's remarkable about this is that we've really learned to come out of this fighting, right? And we've seen that, you know, companies are learning to be really resilient. They've had to change. They know what change looks like for them, and they're having to adapt to the new norm, if you like. And I think these key principles, as I laid them out here, are kind of, you know, how to work more collaboratively. We can't do this alone. You can't change alone. You need to use, you know, partners out there and other organizations that can, you know, go along with your ambition to change. You need to build stronger and faster and more networked supply chains. You know? So, you know, you have to look at, you know, what that means from a global point of view and what that means from local point of view as well, to sort of manage risk that's out there as well. So all of these sort of key attributes, if you like, in terms of the need to change. How do we do that? Well, technology provides a lot of that level of transparency, efficiency, and ultimate, you know, a delivery of your promise to the customer. So, you know, these are the things that I've seen, you know, have disrupted the supply chain and key milestones which have caused these type of changes and need to change and adapt. And like I said, I think there's no greater time to look at organizations, to look at themselves and really look at both people skills and technology to help them provide that level of transparency.
Thanks, Graham. You mentioned the word resilience. That's a very important factor, and I think that was one of the biggest learnings that we had over the last 2 years. David, just connecting on to this topic, I would like to ask you, what are some of the main pillars in BRF's digitalization strategy when it comes to supply chain, and also now taking into account all the changes that happened since the pandemic?
Yeah, I think it's very interesting that Graham brought the word resilience here for the discussion, right? And it's something that for sure it was one of the pillars that we thought about while developing the digital transformation journey that BRF went through. But the starting point, I can say it's within our corporate culture, we have what we call our 3 non-negotiable commitments, right? Which are safety, quality, and integrity. So thinking about those 3 things, we started developing very, very simple ways and started thinking about how technology can leverage those concepts and can incorporate those 3 non-negotiable commitments into our day-to-day operations, right? So just to mention a couple of examples, how do we improve safety on our last mile delivery? So we started using IoT devices on every single of our delivery trucks, monitoring driver behavior, monitoring how the deliveries are being performed to the customer at every step of the way. On the quality side, being a company that handles mostly frozen and fresh products, how do we make sure that throughout the whole supply chain, end to end, the way we say it, right, from farm to table, how do we make sure that the temperature of the products and the quality of the products are maintained all the way through, right? This is all done in BRF through technology. And then on the integrity side, which is also a very important part of how we do business, which is kind of tricky, right? How do we bring integrity to the operation? So there's a lot of ways. So electronic proof of delivery, going paperless, not having the need for you to bring a physical invoice to the customers, while having this revenue recognized under your business, right? So I would say those 3 pillars brought us through the resilience that Graham was mentioning here. And at the same time, we cannot be proper supply chain people if we don't bring here efficiency and optimization, right? So I think this is also another good way that technology can permeate our business. So we use a lot of softwares here in BRF, both for data analytics and insights, but also for resource planning. So how do we make our resources use more efficient, and how do we make use of them in the most optimized way as well? So I would say those five different points brought a really resilient supply chain, as Graham was saying here.
That makes absolute sense. Thanks, David. And of course, you also touched upon the visibility over the entire supply chain from the farm to the table, as you mentioned. And that brings me to Adli, to Rombi, actually. And what Rombi experienced since founding 2014 really made the tech company be one of the most important key players in the supply chain visibility space. So Adli, what makes Rombi so special? What is your competitive advantage compared to other supply chain visibility tech companies?
Yes, Livia. As you know, traditionally the market has been divided into hardware suppliers and then platform providers, and then you have aggregators, right? And within the aggregator space, you have different kind of aggregators, people that get scattered visibility. So they collect data from different platforms, and they normally miss the condition monitoring and the first mile. The same thing for other aggregators who are doing visibility for verification. So these guys sometimes miss the multimodal data that comes out, and they have a sort of an actionable but limited actionable availability. Now the Rombi model is a bit different. We provide an end-to-end platform. So we provide the devices, we provide the platform, the global communication, the business model that allows companies to scale very quickly without the need to really do a lot of upfront investment. And our major thing is basically by having first-hand sensor data and created the external data and actionability, we provide a very unique case of giving you what you call highly reliable and highly actionable, data. And this brings us to the theme of this, discussion, which is how you basically deploy all these technologies of IoT, RPA, and AI to basically get your customer to be on top of their supply chain, understand what's happening in their networks, and makes the right decision based on that. And I think with COVID, as everybody mentioned today in the discussion, that we were needing more of that, because the disruption that's happening into the lanes and the delays that's happening, the limited flights, the limited number of ships, and all the blockages that's happening today, you would definitely need a lot of visibility. And this is what Rombi tried to do for you, is basically today get all this data, collect it, understand it, and give you an action that you can take to basically improve on your lanes. Your lanes, what's happening on them, where are the delays happening, which country, which port has a better clearance policy, and start, is it before the clearance or after the clearance, what's happening, how long it's been sitting there, all this information that comes there and basically give you the leverage to make better decisions are what Rombi gives you today as part of our solution. So this is where we play basically in the highly reliable and highly actionable space, where we provide a lot of information firsthand from the condition of the product, as David was talking about, understanding the cold chain, and for the quality of the product, the security of the product, and all that stuff. And we have made our solution and our devices to understand all of that. So in general, if you bring devices from the market, normally you need to do a lot of tweaking to get to meet your use cases. When you have, defined out-of-the-box use cases like Rombi, then your devices, your platform, and the whole value is being aligned together to give you that value. And this is where it becomes much easier and much faster to deploy. I think that's the message that Rombi carries.
Very impressive. I mean, the amount of data that you guys help your customers customers, open up and give access to, that's really amazing. And Graham, you have a very exciting job at Abu Dhabi Port. So you oversee the complete movement of goods, including also the temperature sensitive pharmaceutical products from the point of manufacturing through also the warehouse placement, and also right to also the final mile distribution. Now we talked about some of the new technologies and innovations, also what Rombi is here for. So what is the role of AI and robotics throughout all these processes that you manage, and what are some of the best practices for integrating these new technologies in the process?
Great, thank you. So let me set the scene a little bit here, so I can be very practical about specifics of the supply chain that we're managing here and I manage here. And let me just first emphasize that we're on a journey here, right? We're on a kind of digital transformation and service optimization journey. So the team here, the management team here, our focus, the thought leadership is focused on the integration and the connectivity of technology against the operation and obviously our promise to the customer ultimately. So if I sort of tell you a little bit about the operation here, our Kazad facility that we're sitting on here is 19,000 square meters of advanced cold and ultra cold state-of-the-art warehousing. We've got the relevant certifications around it. So, from a healthcare service point of view, it's very well sort of positioned. We're the largest vaccine hub in the whole of the region and one of the largest in the world. And we've got a capacity of something like 300 million doses of vaccines that we hold here. And I said our storage is from ambient all the way through to -80. We're actually the largest ultra cold freezer farm, say in the region and one of the world's. The operation here is supported by a premium warehouse management system to optimize a system-driven warehouse operations. So again, we're using good technology here to help us bring in that data and look at that data and organize that data in a way where we can make decisions from it and strategies from it. We have a comprehensive transportation fleet of over 400 vehicles operated by one of our companies, Miko Logistics, and they can provide transportation solutions across all temperature ranges. Not only that, temperature ranges, but obviously those vehicles are full of sensors, full of the ability of full telematics to provide us information about alert systems and abnormalities that will arise that can come up in our day-to-day operations, as well as geofence technology, as well as GPS technology. So again, we can look at full alert management from that. Also, we do route optimization. Machine learning comes from that. So we collect the data from our vehicles, we look at those routes, and we look at where the trends are and how we can improve some of the route optimization, along with efficiencies, what that brings to the customer. The entire operations is managed through a control tower system. So we have a number of people sit in a very tech-filled room with screens that are looking at our operation on a real-time view of the world. Now our operation here can be is in twofold. One, it's the vaccine operation. So that will be picking the vaccines up from the manufacturer and delivering them all the way through to the final mile, and that could be in very remote places of the world as well. We have a system called Immunity, which has been developed by our digital cluster system here, digital cluster division rather. And what that platform provides is an integrated view of the world in real time, which brings us an ability to see where the vaccines are at any point in time, and also to be able to make decisions about that huge amount of data that comes into the control tower on that. So, we can match supply and demand. We can match capacity in these remote countries where if we're sitting on, let's say, 5 million vaccines for a particular country, they have only capability of storing, I don't know, 500,000 vaccines at one time. We can work with them on a supply program there that allows the integrity of the product under temperature sensitive conditions to be time sensitive and managed properly in real time. So that's a really important part of our work here, the control tower management system. Some of our high value cargo is protected by e-seals as well. So again, technology which is a cargo sealing solution, if you like, and it eliminates tampering of the goods in transport. And that device is also controlled by the control tower. So the driver actually can't open or close his consignment or load. It has to be done by the control tower in a remote location, which is Kazad in this case. Also provides geofencing and alert management. And the other part of the operation here, we deliver on a daily basis to about 80 medical facilities in the UAE on behalf of our customer here, Rafid, who are the government purchasing organisation for the Saha healthcare service here from the government. And again, we run a dedicated fleet of operations there, managing in real time alert systems, temperature sensitive, all the way from very, very controlled drugs, all the way through to normal consumable PPE type of equipment. So that just gives you an emphasis of what we're doing here, the technology we're using. We're also looking at robotics. The facility here is very well utilized, so we're working with a couple of organizations right now to see what a automated storage and picking and inventory management system looks like, and taking away the reliance on some of our people. COVID is, again, we're going through a pandemic, another sort of spike, aren't we, where we see, we've lost up to 30% of our workforce right now, right? So again, the reliability on people and the ongoing issues that COVID or the next one's going to give us, we need to use technology to transfer from vulnerable use of manpower into more automated solutions. So we're looking at bringing in robotics into this facility. We've also tested RFID. We've also looked at drones to do inventory counting. We are building out a program of using advanced technology in this facility to keep ourselves very competitive and, as I said, keep ourselves highly productive in that journey. I can talk about the sort of best practice for integrating and adopting those new technologies, if you like, or shall I pause here and bring in somebody else?
I think, Ram, that already gives us a very nice insight into your operations.
Sure.
Actually, there was a question from the audience that I would like to ask now because it fits very well into the context. How do you deal with waste in your operations?
Sorry, how do we deal with what?
With waste.
With waste, yeah, no, it's a great question. Look, I mean, with the type of products we're handling, we've got to be extremely careful not to generate waste in the first place. So there are a number of wastes. Yeah, so there's manpower waste, there's product waste. I'm not sure what context this question is. There's time waste, there's cost waste. So, from our point of view, it's handling and getting visibility of what the potential expiry dates can be on products, making sure those expiry dates are managed well in advance of when the product starts to age. And again, you're using technology to be able to provide that data to you and that alert system process to you. So we have aging alerts at 30 days, at 60 days, at 90 days, etc. So we can monitor that and provide the customer with that type of information, and also the accessibility of the system as well, right? So there is a requirement to give the customer transparency. And that way they can have full understanding of inventory management practices, the accuracy levels that we're running at that point in time. Does that answer some of the questions?
Yes, I think so. Thanks, Graham. And now turning to David, and also like talking about some of the innovation projects that you are working on. So you are responsible for digital transformation at BRF. Do you have any like favorite innovation projects that you are currently working on that you can also tell us a bit about?
I do actually, and it's interesting to see that Graham was talking about the control tower setup that they have there, and we have the same exact concept in BRF. So a room with plenty of screens, people can see a big number of data coming from the devices, coming from the market, coming from different sources. Important here is for us to not get caught up in the noise, right? A lot of data can bring also a lot of noise. So we also need to make sure that we are paying attention to the right signs there. So that's why we always like to operate in what we call a management by exceptions, right? So we don't look at every single truck that we have. We only look at the trucks that might be delayed or might have an issue on the route, stuff like that. But coming from for the products for the project that we're working on, recently Plug and Play introduced us to a very interesting company that can improve the way that we monitor driver behavior. So as I was saying in the beginning, right, we have IoT devices on every single truck that we have going to the markets, monitoring drivers' behaviors through sensors, through data from the telematics. But also there's a new technology coming up, which is monitoring by video, right? And connecting to that video, there's an AI algorithm looking at the images and identifying not so desirable behaviors from the drivers. So for example, we on the IoT alone, we can measure plenty of signs such as hard acceleration, hard braking, whether or not the drivers are wearing seatbelt on the deliveries. But for example, we cannot see if the driver is speaking on the phone while he's driving. So this is a project that we're working on right now, company introduced to us by Plug and Play. And I think it's going to take our driver monitoring to the next level, right? Not only seeing the sensors and the data from the truck, but also seeing real live images from inside and also outside the trucks. And this can also be used to prevent accidents, right? So not only worrying about the safety of the drivers and their behavior inside the truck, but also focusing the cameras outside, seeing any behavior from other drivers that are not compliant, and giving warnings to the drivers as they go, so we prevent accidents that way. So this is one of the projects, and another one that I can mention, I think is going to be very close to what Graham and Adli do on their day-to-day. We're also working with the Abu Dhabi ports to kind of do a pilot for paperless clearance there. So we connected to a big tech company that is providing these services. Again, it's not as developed as we would have liked until now, but I think we're in the beginning of testing, of piloting. And I would say we're sitting in the brink of a big change in the way that we do business for international trade right now, right? So we've been hearing a lot about blockchain and not so good connotations, people just wanting to make money, but there's also a very important use case for global trade, which is going paperless in terms of clearance. So this not only avoids waste, as our audience was asking about, right? Paper, a lot of transport of those documents across the globe, but also increases a lot the efficiency on our supply chains worldwide. So this is another project that we're very much looking forward to.
Very interesting. Thanks, David, for sharing that. So my next question I would like to address to Adli, because Adli, you have experience also from the corporate world and also from other industries, not only supply chain visibility, and that's very, very precious. So what do you think? Now we talked about some like startup corporate collaborations. What are some of the most important aspects, factors in order to have a successful collaboration between tech companies and corporations?
Yeah, I think this is a very interesting question, Livia. You know, the moment you talk about startup, immediately the words like flexibility, agility, cost comes up, right? Because normally when you corporates, when they work with startups, they get this benefit of being able to do a proof of value for a certain solution, a certain technology, and also to do the integration, things that actually very difficult for corporates to do today, which is normally takes time. There is a lot of bureaucracies in corporates to do that. So once you tie up with a startup, the startup normally brings all this agility, so you can quickly try some technology, do something together, and make sure it can be done in a short period with the least cost, right? And that's what working with between the two worlds. And I think a lot of corporates now are banking on startups to do a lot of testing, to do things that normally the big corporates cannot do that easily due to their structure and what have you, right? So this is where I see, corporates, startups coming up and helping corporates, improve and enhance and also try a lot of things that they wanted to do. Now, the beauty about what we do in Rombi is we have a DNA of a startup, but if you look at our global presence today and global backing, from different companies, you basically can get working with a startup without the risk of working, of a startup normally. So what we do is simply, we give you all that leverage. We have today an operation that expand across the world, and that's come from the fact that some of the points that people touched on today, David, and talked about also the, control tower, right? So, the things that we've heard today and some of the corporates can set up on their own, we're providing, as a service to some of our customers. So 7/24 operation, global operation, that can do a lot of things for you quickly and easily and without really to do the need to do an investment. So today, Rombi is available across our, we've been backed by Deutsche Telekom, Temasek, Reefnot, and also we have a sort of an investment from Qualcomm into the company. So we're really going toward that, and we're making those solutions quickly available for corporates, so they simply can automate their supply chain. We basically and primarily focus on supply chain. We don't go toward, like, for example, driver behaviors, and which are more of a fleet. But when you look about your shipment movement, your asset movement, your returnable assets, that's a very important thing that we do today for most of the companies. Most of the corporates are going toward what you call, industrial packaging. They use this industrial packaging to basically rotate their product and make cycles of distribution. And we wanted to, make sure that they know what's the movement, how it's been moved, where it's standing, because the reason for it's not necessarily the cost of that basket. Sometimes it is the availability of the basket to make the delivery. And those are real supply chain, issues and challenges that we have today. So how companies are working on that, their corporates are ordering a big number of extra, baskets or extra containers to be able to make sure they deliver into their commitment. But there's better ways to do today with understanding the cycles, the behaviors, how long they stay on every location, how you can improve on all these cycles, how you can predict and model what needs to be done. That's something that today we can add as a value to the flexibility and agility and the cost factor that we normally provide to corporate. So that's how the corporate and the startup can work together to make the best of both worlds and achieve what they want in fast and cost-effective way. That's how I look at it.
Thank you, Adley. And just to give us an insight also on some of the projects that you've been working on. So, I would think that the visibility on like vaccine distribution was one of the projects that kept you busy the most in the last 1.5 years. Can you give us a bit of explanation?
Yeah. So in 2021, actually, we were lucky enough to work with 2 of the top vaccine or pharma companies in the world. And they look completely at vaccine distribution, COVID vaccine distribution. So from first mile to last mile delivery and what have you, guaranteeing the quality, as David and Graham was talking about, making sure the quality of the product is maintained, and not at a level of a full shipment, at granular level to the box of vaccine. That's what we provide. So our technology of BLE, along with GBS, with our own devices that actually pharma grade, right, and certified pharma grade, they can go on board of 42 airlines safely. Those are the kind of products we provide specifically to solve a certain use case. And because of that, you have today the ability to monitor, your vaccine from, manufacturing to delivery, along all the ways and the last mile delivery, and making sure that every box of vaccine maintain the temperature. And that's how it works. And these 2 big companies, actually 2 big pharma giants, are using our solution, and they're doing it worldwide. It's not only in one location, okay? The other type of projects where we're really doing, we're very busy last year, it's the returnable reusable containers and what we call work in process. So within any, and that's really relate very much to Industry 4.0. So Industry 4.0, you have in any manufacturing facility today, you have a process for any manufactured item that you have. So it goes through, for example, certain process. So it spend 1 hour in a I don't know, cleaning area, another 1 hour in a sterilization area, and so on until it reaches. So we wanted to make sure that our customer know exactly that every item, every product they produce went through the cycle itself and followed the process without basically violating anything. That's how we worked very well with our customers. We brought a lot of data, and those data are actually what we are doing right now. So we call what I've just explained a first order value. It's a standard, simple way of collecting data through sensors or what have you, and simply providing reports, dwell time, aging, what have you, for your inventory when Graham was talking about inventory. That's what we do. But after collecting the data, we can deliver what you call second order value. The second order value is using this data, understanding and predicting and modeling of what will happen in the future. That's how it works. So in a typical supply chain problem today, you run out of your delivery baskets or delivery containers, right? You want to predict when they will come and how they will come and how many I will have next day to be able to deliver my next commitment. Because the commitment you make as BRF today into the market is more important than the basket price, right? It's would you be able to deliver, okay, your next commitment more than actually I'm losing one, and what's the cost of losing that one? So that's why a lot of customers now in Europe and the US now are really tracking those baskets. Sometimes they're only $10 basket, by the way. So we have a very popular use case with a company called IFCO in the US, and IFCO, they do deliver fresh products to Walmart, right? So for them, the biggest problem is the day in the morning when they were supposed to deliver, that they don't have these baskets. So imagine the operation. They want to make sure everything falls in place. They want to make sure the cycle is being followed correctly. And there's plenty of other actually use cases can come up out of that thing. So this is what we are busy now and busy hopefully in 2022 doing. The third use case, which is really getting popular in the region, is what Graham mentioned about cross free zone movement, cross country movement. A lot of countries, customs authorities are really monitoring that, seeing how long you spend, is there any products being leaked to the market while things are moving. Those are where we have what you call container security and what have you. These are just the 3 that I can think about, other than warehouse automation, which we can also discuss in details of what you can do about your assets, where they are today, what's the condition of that location, and so on. That's all we can provide as a solution from Rombi.
Very diverse, thank you, Adli. And also like the network of also our corporate partners are definitely looking into these spaces, and they have challenges in these sectors. So unfortunately, we reached the end of this panel, but at the end, before I let you go, I would like to ask one last question from the audience, and that is mainly to David and Graham. So what would be the main advice to startups, tech companies looking to work with corporations, in your opinion, Graham?
Yeah, I mean, the main advice for me would be, and this is where we pick up understanding what is out there in the market, right? So there is, you know, I would say there are 4 ways that we look at. First of all, our own thought leadership. Yeah, so we go out and say, look, we understand what our ambition looks like. Who can help us realize that? We're fortunate enough to have a digital cluster as part of Abu Dhabi Ports Group, and they're very well resourced, and they broadcast a lot of knowledge, and they provide a vision of technology and smart devices and applications across the entire group, and they consistently work across all the group divisions. So get into these guys would be my advice as well, because as I say, they broadcast that. I think participating in technology events such as GITEX and other events like Hypermotion, these type of events, these are other ways where, you know, the big corporations come in and look at what is the latest technology. So that's, you know, a lot of our discussions are around working with these organizations, and they turn into either sort of a demo or a POC, for instance, or even a pilot. We also are fortunate enough to have an innovations team here, which give us some great advice as well. And we use these guys as well to incubate ideas, if you like. So I think, you know, there's a number of conduits for innovation companies to find out who are the tech people in these organizations and to engage them. And we are very receptive, honestly, at Abu Dhabi Ports. We like technology. We want to embrace it. We believe it's the future. We're doing a lot of POCs, a lot of demos, a lot of pilots with a number of startup companies. I was in a recent delegation to Israel, and these guys are full of ideas as well, and great technology. And we're embracing some of the companies there that we've seen as well. So very open to those discussions and conversations.
Thanks, Graham. David, what do you think? What would you advise to the startups?
Yeah, I agree with what Graham said. And just to add a couple more points, I think being a part of this ecosystem that you guys are trying to create, I think it's very important, right? Sometimes the big corporations, they don't have visibility of the sheer amount of startups that are in the market, what technologies they're developing, what use cases they're presenting as well. So I think being a part of this ecosystem would increase the visibility to us as corporations, right? And at the same time, keep this agile approach that I see a lot in startups. I think this is very important. It's something that we tend to lack a little bit from this side. So it's something that we always like to leverage from the startups, right? Being able to do to sign non-disclosure agreements very quickly, to do a proof of concepts very quickly, to have these use cases presented to our management as well, with numbers, with a real case scenario. I think those are the main things that we like to work with startups.
Great, thank you. Okay, so there were some other questions also asked by the audience, but you guys can see them, so feel free to just answer them in the chat section. I think that we can just summarize that building a strong supply chain network is very important, and also what you guys said, I can just conclude that resilience is one of the most important factors to build successful supply chains. Also work together even more closely, be efficient, and be adaptive to new technologies. So thank you very much, Graham, David, and Adli, for being here with us today and sharing your really valuable insights. and some of the technologies that you are focusing on currently. So with that, I would like to give it back to Hisham to deliver some closing remarks. Thank you again.
Thank you to the panel, to Livia for moderating. I would like to ask the audience to give a virtual round of applause to the panelists. To Livia, it was a very, very insightful discussion. Great conversation from vaccine delivery to farm to table. And that's essentially the scope of Industry 4.0 and how it's literally impacting everyday people's lives. With that being said, as David had mentioned, this ecosystem, this open innovation platform that we've launched and we're trying to build, it's only going to work if we have more collaborators. Of course, the ones, the strategic partners that we have, the founding partners that we have, where we're super grateful to them to be part of it. But we're always looking to add more partners, more startups, because the more knowledge sharing that we're able to do, the more collaboration opportunities we're able to present within the ecosystem. It's only going to benefit the innovation and the scope of implementations that we're able to offer. So with that being said, thank you to everyone for attending. Before you sign off, we have a quick poll that we would like you to fill out. It will help us get your feedback on everything. If you would like to get in touch about the Open Innovation Platform with the partners that we have, or you would like to partner, or you're a startup, please feel free to reach out to me. My email is mentioned on the slide. And lastly, please do follow us on LinkedIn, on our social media channels. We do lots of events. We have many verticals that we've launched. We have a couple of more coming up this year. Lots of exciting stuff happening. So please stay up to date with us on LinkedIn. And I wish you all a wonderful week ahead. And hope to see you at the next event.